Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Matt Jarbo here. Welcome to 3 Buck Theater, and today we're going to be talking about a ton of Marvel movie news. There's going to be some rumors that are coming out of some very questionable sources at this point, but it's something to talk about anyway. And the reason why I'm lumping it all together into one video is very similar to why I do dueling sabers for Star Wars. It's because there's a lot to talk about. Not everything requires its own video, but some stuff is just fun to discuss. And I figure if you guys are an MCU fan, which you clearly are because you're watching this, you might want to just talk about all the different news of today. We're talking about the Moon Knight casting. We're going to be talking about some new rumors that are coming out from questionable sources at best, to be fair. And then, of course, Tom Holland hyping up Spider-Man 3. So let's jump into the major news of the day, which of course is this Oscar Isaac is in talks to star in Moon Knight at Disney Plus. And this has been an ongoing story for a while. The reason why it's been an ongoing story is a lot of people out there are very much under the belief that it was going to be someone like Keanu Reeves, because certain scoopers were going out there and saying that it was going to be Keanu Reeves starring as Marc Spector in the Moon Knight series. Never mind that Keanu is shooting John Wick 4 and 5 back to back, and he's wrapping up The Matrix 4 right now. He's got a pretty busy schedule on his hands, so I don't think that would be him. But they're talking now to Oscar Isaac, which seems to make a fair amount of sense, because probably coming off of playing Poe Dameron in Star Wars, he's looking for something and that's going to be consistent, that's going to be popular, and that's going to bring in a lot of money. And I think this is one of those things that's going to do it. So this is what the article says here. It says, Oscar Isaac is in talks to star in the Marvel series Moon Knight at Disney Plus. Variety has learned. Moon Knight tells the story of Marc Spector, an elite soldier and mercenary who decides to fight crime after he becomes the human avatar of Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon. The role would mark a return of sorts to Marvel for Isaac, who did play Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse, which, if you are an X-Men fan, we don't really talk about X-Men Apocalypse. And I'm being serious on this one, guys. Look at me right now. We don't talk about X-Men Apocalypse. You think Dark Phoenix was bad? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Anyway, let's get back to this one here. So, and never mind, he also worked for Disney when it came to being Poe Dameron in this thing. So Marvel here has no comment. Which, of course, it's not going to be a confirmed thing. Everyone's running with the idea now that this is confirmed, that we know it's confirmed. We don't know that it's confirmed. We don't know anything at all, period, point blank, full stop. Like, Variety is a good source, but there are other people out there that were running with these kind of stories as well. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk a bit about this article that popped up over on Murphy's Multiverse. Now, Charles Murphy is a scooper, very similar to like Daniel RPK and Mikey Sutton and Jason Ward and Jeremy Conrad and a whole litany of other people. But we know that this morning he was hyping up this article at 9 a.m. I happened to follow him on Twitter. I was watching him talk about this big info dump that's going to come at 9 o'clock in the morning. And right at the same time that this Oscar Isaac news dropped, he dropped this article saying, what I heard this week, 2 potential Moon Knights, being David, what's his name? David, I think is his name. David Diggs, sorry, and then Nick Kroll as potential Marc Spector. So he was talking about this today as being the big news he had heard, and then of course Variety drops it at the drops the Oscar Isaac article at almost the same time. I think the article went up today at at 10 a.m. PT. So an hour after he dropped this article, Variety dropped the article, kind of BTFOing it right there. And that's not Charles's fault. This is probably what he heard. I'm sure a lot of these guys, they hear a lot of stuff. Not all of it's real. Just the other day, I was approached with a scoop that I was going to talk about, but then I opted to not do it. And then I found out yesterday that that source was not very good. And in fact, it was very questionable. So I didn't run with the story, even though it was Star Wars related and it would have been kind of cool. it's one of those things where you just kind of have to play it up like that. So this is what we know when it comes to this situation right here, is just that Oscar Isaac is going to potentially star as Marc Spector in the Moon Knight series that Kevin Feige, I know, is wanting to get off the ground. This is going to film alongside She-Hulk. It's going to film alongside what is the other one they're doing? Miss Marvel. Now that they've cast Miss Marvel, they've potentially cast She-Hulk. Tatiana Maslany once again is not confirming anything on this, but everyone's kind of running with that narrative right now. So it is what it is on that front. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. But if this is the case, then that's going to be pretty big news. And we know that with the slowdown from COVID, you're going to see quite a bit of things coming out from Marvel, at least being somewhat announced, because they're going to need to start ramping up production because they need content. Disney's now changing its focus to Disney Plus. They're going to need content. Marvel, X-Men, comic book content, Star Wars content is going to be fundamentally needed. So this is where we find ourselves on this front. And quite frankly, you know what? I'm all there for it. I think it's be pretty cool. So let's move on here to talk about the other side of things here, which of course is the hyping up of Tom Holland starring in Spider-Man 3. It's been a little over a year since the whole situation happened with Tom Holland and Sony and Marvel and breaking up, and now we're back, and he's out there hyping it up because he just came off of finishing shooting Uncharted, which is a long gestating movie at Sony. I mean, we're talking a decade at Sony, and so as a result of that, he is hyped up. In fact, he landed in Atlanta, and he posted this to his Instagram yesterday.
Okay, so we just landed in Atlanta, and it's time for Spider-Man 3. Let's go!
you gotta love it right there, right? You gotta love that he's 100% very happy to get hyped up for this. In fact, he even went on to do another video when he got home, further pimping Spider-Man 3, because Tom Holland is like the ultimate hype guy, in my opinion. I think when it comes to these kind of properties, especially following the drama off of Spider-Man in the MCU, this is what he says also.
Hey, so I just got home, and I'm in Atlanta. Just been delivered a package. That package is an iPad, and on that iPad is a script. This pillow's doing my nutting, and that script is Spider-Man 3. So I'm about to find out what I'm going to be doing for the next 5 months. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I've learned my lesson, but I'm so excited. Oh shit! I this iPad. Okay, I'm going to read this now, and I can't wait. And I'll speak to you all soon.
So he's got the Spider-Man 3 script on an iPad. Of course, they do it all on the iPad now. But this is the thing about that, too. When they did the Avengers Endgame scripts, they brought the cast in. They put them in their own individual rooms. They kind of locked them away. They all read versions of the screenplay to get an idea, but they couldn't take anything home with them. And then now his iPad is at his house. Personally, I think it's a bit of a hype job. I think it's a bit of a hype because Spider-Man 3 is going to be a hotly talked about property. And I think that him having the script at home, even though he makes a comment there, well, I'm not going to say anything about it. I've learned my lesson. I think it's a bit of a ploy. It's kind of like when the leaks for Star Wars came out, and the way that they tried to explain that away was that a copy of the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker script ended up underneath John Boyega's bed. And when he moved out of his flat, a cleaning lady found it, and then she tried to sell it on eBay. And that's how they found out about it. None of the story made any sense. It was all completely concocted in PR. And we know that they're very, very, very particular over their screenplays. They're very particular over these things. So obviously in this situation, it does make a lot of sense that they would also keep Tom Holland away from the real script in any kind of public format. Yeah, granted, he's at his home. He's in Atlanta. Unless he's on the Pinewood set, locked away in an apartment somewhere for the next 5 months, I don't think that's the actual script. But he did say he's going to be finding out what he's going to be doing for the next 5 months. Now, that to me was very fascinating because a 5-month shoot time on something like this doesn't necessarily seem uncommon. But what's interesting is that when you think about it, with COVID restrictions and how they're going to have to go around these precautions, this could take a little bit longer to get out. We know the movie's been pushed back to, I believe, 2022. I could be wrong on that. I thought it was 2022, but it is what it is, unfortunately, on that front. We're going to have to wait and see. However, I love the fact that Tom Holland is coming out and getting people hyped up, that he is hyping it up himself. Because if he's happy to work on the property, to work on the project, if he's happy that the bond has been melded, if he's happy that all of these things are happening, then the audience is going to respond in kind. The audience is going to be reciprocal. And because the audience is going to be reciprocal, a lot of people, I think, are going to be very happy with the end result, which is ultimately what we all want. I mean, coming off of Far From Home, where do you take it now that he's been outed? Where do you take it now that all this information is out there? And especially with this whole multiverse thing they're trying to shoehorn in. And yes, that's my opinion, that they're trying to shoehorn the multiverse into Spider-Man 3. Again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, just like I'm going to give DC the benefit of the doubt. But it doesn't interest me as much. I want Tom Holland's story. I want Peter Parker's high school story to be finished. If they're trying to use this as a springboard into connecting Sony and Marvel together, which is what it feels like to me, that's kind of maybe part of the deal at this point. Fine, I'll take it. It's just not, at the end of the day, ultimately what I want to see. So I have to wait and see on that one. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. Are you hyped about it? Are you excited that he's excited? Does it kind of make you feel like we're back on the right path again? Something to look forward to, because I feel like the MCU has got a lot going for it. But with no Black Widow, no Eternals, no Shang-Chi this year, we've got nothing. We've got, this is the first year since 2009 we've gotten no MCU movie, and these movies are billion-dollar properties, so they're clearly not going to want to try to find a way to screw it up. So anyway, there's that one. So let's talk about this new rumor that's coming out of Daniel RPK on Twitter. He just posted about 2 hours ago here. It says 9/10/2020, so I'm assuming that's September 10th, 2020. Offer out to Hugh Jackman. And the rumor off of this, of course, is that Disney is floating they're floating an offer out to Hugh Jackman to have him come back as Wolverine, probably further talking about the multiverse aspect again with Doctor Strange and all that stuff. Makes a lot of sense. We have a response here from Red saying, I saw him last week at a gym in LA. He's definitely bulking up from what I saw. And then Colin responds with maybe a little bit of downplaying there by saying, an actor who's been jacked for 2 decades was seen at the gym. Huge if true. And that's actually really accurate. But so let me say here, for one, I think if they are pushing the multiverse factor of it as hard as it does come across that they are pushing the multiverse, they are doing this for a couple reasons. One, they want to beat DC because DC is going full multiverse. Again, even though I'm not a huge fan, that's what they're doing. So they're going full multiverse. So they're going to want to find a way to beat them. And Marvel, yes, will look at what DC does and respond accordingly, just with usually better results. It's sad but true. And then what you're going to have also is them trying to find a way to put Deadpool and Wolverine together in a movie because fans want that. There's and they also want to find a way to fast track Fantastic Four and X-Men and all the other characters that came over from the Fox acquisition. And the multiverse just seems like the easiest way to meld it all together into one cohesive universe that they're then going to be able to build off of using Disney Plus and other means of production, so, or distribution, right, or other platforms. So it's super weird. It's super crazy that, like, if this is true. And again, Daniel has got a very spotty track record. He has personally tried to blackmail me in the past. That is very true. So take what he says with a grain of salt. He's also been known to potentially allegedly lift certain scoops from other people and then present them as his own on his Patreon. So again, take with a grain of salt. But there is that. So I just wanted to talk about potentially Wolverine coming into the MCU, and that an offer has been made. So finally, I want to talk about, this is popping up over on 4chan today. We have some more rumors. I normally am not a big rumor guy, but these are kind of interesting to me. And there's been some leaks on 4chan that have been real. So it's always best to kind of look at them and treat it very similar to the Daniel RPK thing, or even Mikey Sutton or Jeremy Conrad or any of these other guys. Grain of salt. So this is what's popping up in 4chan just this afternoon. We have a guy here that says his name is Coochie Man. That's his name, Coochie Man, saying, I have inside info on Marvel Studios AMA, saying no questions are off limits. I specialize in the R-rated part of Marvel Studios called Marvel Max. I have many leaks, so please ask away. And the thing is, a lot of people out there are, they don't know what Marvel's doing with this side of it. We know the only news we've ever heard, really, is that Deadpool 3 will be rated R. Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick have confirmed that Disney's not interfering on that front. We've heard a rumor recently that they're looking to offer a big deal to Ryan Reynolds to have him come back as Wade Wilson in Deadpool. I think this is as a result of the Green Lantern cameo appearances in the Snyder Cut that we've been hearing about through Grace Randolph. As I said, I think it's this negotiation in the media, but a lot of people are looking at this guy and they're giving him the standard amount of crap here. One guy here says, "Quit making this thread, you pathetic attention whore," which is typical for 4chan. But then he responds back with, "I'll have you know that I actually have real leaks from verified sources. You really need to think before you speak." And I'm just going to be honest on that front there. It's like when you come out there and you're like, "I have leaks," and someone's like, "You're kind of an attention whore, stop it." And you go, "No, they're verified." It doesn't make me believe that the leaks are verified. I'm just saying, grain of salt across the board. So this is what someone asked him here. So what's planned for Moon Knight? What kind of separation from the MCU is planned, if any? What projects are cooking at the moment? How much is Feige involved? How Disneyed are our favorite edgy characters going to be? Which is a very valid question to ask. He responds back with, "It's a psychological horror. Mark's worst enemy is himself. The R-rated stuff, since it won't affect the MCU as a whole, but we'll still have MCU heroes like maybe Spider-Man or Captain Marvel show up." When it came to question 3, which is what projects are cooking at the moment, he says a lot. New projects are being developed every day. I can tell you in a separate reply. And then Feige apparently is giving people a lot of creative control as long as they don't get banned in China, which is fascinating. And then number 5 here is that Deadpool is going to have a lot of dark humor. Ghost Rider will be PG-13. Punisher will be really brutal. And Moon Knight will also be really brutal. And that to me is interesting because we know that now in literally I think already that the rights for Daredevil have now gone back to Marvel, if you believe that 2-year cool-off period, which has never been officially confirmed, by the way. It's never been officially vetted. It's just been something that the actress who played Marcy said 2 years ago, and everyone just kind of ran with, but because there's never been any official confirmation from Feige or anyone over at Marvel Studios, like Lou Esposito or Victoria Alonso or whatever, we don't know. We have no idea, but that's been the running commentary. So now at this point, it's like a fact because no one's disputed it. But it's been 2 years. So there's that. Luke Cage, Iron Fist are now back with Disney as well. The Defenders has been back since last year. That property as a whole, if you again believe that 2-year stuff. Then you've got the Punisher coming up here in early 2021, and Jessica Jones also in early 2021. And I think that's what a lot of people are waiting to find out more on. Are they going to bring these characters over to something like Disney Plus or FX? Because that is something to consider as well. With Moon Knight, they are doing it for Disney Plus, but it does feel, given the context of that comic book, it feels like they would really try, that they would want to try to put it on FX where it would have more of kind of a leeway to be able to be edgier. But I did hear recently that Disney is looking at potentially bringing in Disney or looking at more edgier content to bring to Disney Plus. And I think that might have to do with Hulu. Maybe that bundle is not as lucrative as they thought. Maybe people aren't on there as often. Those shows aren't doing as well. I'm not too sure, but Hulu would be the place to have that edgier content. But they still want to bring it into one whole package, right? They want it in one whole place, and maybe have Marvel After Dark or something along those lines, and then go from there. I don't know. It could be whatever it is. We're going to have to wait and see. But finally, again, the thread is not very long, but someone asks, what projects are in development that haven't been announced yet? What is the tone and style going to be like for She-Hulk? And then a person responded, and I don't know if it is in fact Coochie Man himself, because he didn't have the name, but that person responds back by saying Phantom X Show. I don't know what that is. Deadpool 3 and 4, Howard the Duck animated movie, R-rated. Sabretooth origin movie, R-rated. Deadpool versus Predator? What? Marvel Noir, Carnage Show, X-Force, Gwenpool adult animated series, Marvel Ruins. Children of Wolverine, it'd be like an R-rated TMNT movie. As for She-Hulk, think Better Call Saul mixed with Daredevil, but a much lighter tone. And then also saying here, just at the bottom of the image, let me just get rid of this banner, that you're going to have a Daredevil revival, a Punisher revival, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, PG-13 Heroes for Hire show, and Jessica Jones at this point is effectively dead. That's what he's saying there. Now, I don't know, again, how much of that to believe. This is all grain of salt stuff. Jessica Jones being dead doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, I know Kristen Ritter just had a kid, and that could be something that would take her away from. Maybe she wants to kind of slow down on acting right now to be a mom. Perfectly understandable, totally viable. I get it entirely. So you might have that reason, and people aren't going to want to have her recast, just like they're not going to want to see Charlie Cox recast, or Matt Murdock recast without Charlie Cox, and they're not going to want to see the Punisher without John Bernthal. If they do that, they're like legitimately hurting themselves, in my opinion, and fans are going to lose their damn mind. That's why I keep saying is like the release the Snyder Cut people need to teach the Save Daredevil people how to organize these events, because Snyder Cut is happening. Save Daredevil's been on for a couple years as well, and it hasn't really seen any movement on it. But then again, I think there's a lot more moving pieces and parts when it comes to Disney than it comes to Warner Brothers, especially now with the acquisition of Fox and all those characters coming. I mean, there's so much that's going on. There is so much at play. It's insane. So that's all the news I have got for today. I'm sure there's more to talk about, but you know what? I'll bring it up in another episode. If you guys enjoy this kind of rundown of today's Marvel news, let me know down in the comment section. I appreciate it. If you have any news stories, find me on Twitter at mjarbo. You can post them in the video comment section here, and I'll be able to find them, or leave your comment and I'll probably play it up on the screen tomorrow. I just want to, when it comes to news, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I want to geek out about it. Doing individual videos, it just drags me down because it's just a lot of like individual work when I just kind of want to talk. And that's why I think doing more of like a video podcast seems like a lot more fun to me. So I hope you guys like it. And again, if you just let me know, I'll talk to you all later. Please thumbs up the video, subscribe if you're new. And you know what? If you made it this far, type Deadpool in the comment section so I know. And there's going to be a few of you that I know already will, and I appreciate that. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.